Inflation destroys savings, and it also destroys a currency. Every country around the world is currently inflating their currency in order to make their exports cheaper, as well as erode a portion of their debt. This race to the bottom must eventually come to an end. If we use history as a guide, we find that a currency can go from reliable to worthless in about 1 year. Watch the warning signs and comprehend the severity of them, because there is hyperinflation ahead. And it is undoubtable that prices are at an all-time high. Let's take a look at this, because there's some real big denials out there, and people just simply will not face the music yet. Apple soars to record amid optimism about coming products. They hit another record high, and apparently since 2007, they've gone up 7-fold. This is a dramatic increase. Now, if you had your money in the Apple stock, you would have made a lot of money. But let's take a look at other things that matter right here. What exactly is making this stock go up in price? The numbers are rising, but is real wealth rising? Let's take a look at this. Average price of ground beef hits an all-time high, and I would just continue on to the next one saying that same issue. Price index for steak hits an all-time high. These are obviously interconnected, and they're saying that it has reached a price it never has before. Now, is that steak or is that ground beef any better than it was 5, 10, 100 years ago? The answer is of course no. So what we have is inflation. This inflation makes assets, makes commodities increase. Why? Because there are more dollars out there. How many dollars are there out there? Well, if you take a look at this out of Fox Business, the Federal Reserve balance sheet is more than quadrupled to $4.4 trillion since the beginning of the economic crisis due to its large quantity of security purchases, ergo quantitative easing. They're talking about $4.4 trillion created out of thin air, and that's what's recorded on their balance sheet. That does not include the off-balance sheet numbers. We know there's at least $16 trillion, and that was from the audit that was done there. But anyway, this is obviously a big problem. When you print up money and you give it to banks and you have this scheme going, you're going to have major problems. I'm going to go on quickly. You've heard me talk about it before. Now, people don't think that a hyperinflation could happen. They say it will never happen here, but the fact remains is that if you live in the United States, it has happened twice. It happened during the Revolutionary War, and it happened during the Civil War. So this has happened 2 times before, and it is always to pay for war. That's the way it works. This has happened in many countries around the world where they need to pay for war, and they simply never get out of it until they destroy their currency. Now, the U.S. has some advantages, being the petrodollar, being the reserve currency of the world, but that is all changing now. So you can have to really realize that if you hold dollar-denominated assets, if you hold stocks measured in dollars, things are going to be changing soon, and you need to really understand this. This is going to be a big thing for the future. But, you know, inflation can't be that bad because according to the government statistics, U.S. inflation up, but it's only at 1.6%. Now, that doesn't seem very accurate according to what I pay, certainly here in Toronto, and I'm sure the fact remains in the US and many countries around the world for that matter. 1.6%. Now, when they don't include the most necessary things, and when they're allowed to take certain things out, for example, steak hit an all-time high, they're allowed to pull steak out of the calculation, replace it with ground beef. And if ground beef becomes too expensive, they can replace it, and they could put Spam if they want in there. That's really how this works. They're allowed to manipulate the statistics legally, and that's how they get a number of 1.6, knowing that everything is hitting an all-time high right now. Consumer Price Index, regardless, even let's use their garbage numbers. This is right out of the St. Louis Fed, showing you the stats. Year over year, everything is increasing. This is all the way back prior to 1960, and you can see till today we have the prices increasing over year. So it doesn't matter what's going to happen. You know specifically that your dollars are worth less the next year. Knowing that, do you want to hold assets that are in dollars, or do you want to hold something that will maintain its value as the dollars become more and more worthless? That's what I'm trying to get to. What I'm trying to avoid is this. Venezuela's 12-month inflation topped 62% in June. 62% inflation, these people are destroyed. They're never going to come back from this until something major happens, and it usually ends up bad for the people in that country. This is also, it's not just Venezuela, it is many countries around the world. When you have sanctions, when you have governments that take your money, your tax money, use it inefficiently, you have these socialist schemes like they have there, taking the money of these, communist, socialism, whatever you want to call it. It's all collectivism, where they take your money and they think that they have a better idea of what to do with it. You have issues like this. Of course, there's many reasons why there's 62% inflation. However, I'm just explaining that you're not allowed to really deal with your own money. The government takes such a large portion of that, and they run criminal schemes like the Federal Reserve Bank, like our income tax going directly to pay for it, so on and so forth. So I hope that you like this information. I will stop rambling, and I hope that you will become an insider. It's totally free. It's at themoneygps.com. Scroll down to the bottom, you fill in your email address, and you get occasional emails from me.